So we're having a problem with the sound.
No, now we can listen. It's okay now. We can listen now. Okay.
You can hear me, Camilo?
Yes, hi. I can hear you now.
Okay, fabulous. So I was just saying that you invited me to Venezuela, and I had a wonderful time working with many of the students from El Sistema there. And that the first student who's going to play today in the masterclass is Roderick, who is from Venezuela. And he's going to play the Mozart Concerto No. 5 First Movement. And so I was looking for him. Let's see. Let's look at our participants and see if he is there, and we'll bring him on. So he needs to. No, it doesn't look like. Is he on yet?
Roderick, a ver, tu micrófono, ¿estás listo, Roderick?
Sí, hola.
So I'm not sure that I know how to see him because I'm looking for participants. Let's see, Roderick. Ah, there you are. We were going to have a fabulous setup here for the masterclass today, and unfortunately, at the last minute, all of the devices completely went kaput. So I have to use my there you are. Hello. So I have to use my iPhone. Excuse me all for not having proper equipment, but we 2 minutes before 1 o'clock we realized that the technology here wasn't going to work. So I'm on my iPhone, but I see you, and thank you so much for playing today. So this is Mozart A Major Concerto, correct?
Yes, correct.
Can you hear me?
¿Puedes oír, Roderick?
Sí.
¿Puede oírme?
Sí, claro.
Sí, sí, okay.
Sí, te escucha bien.
Entonces puede empezar. You can begin
gracias.
playing. We're going to go ahead and start with Mozart.
Ya.
Okay. stop right there. Let's go ahead and stop there. That's an absolute, I hope you can hear me well. That was absolutely beautiful performance, very elegant and very refined. I really felt like, you know, your phrasing was very refined, your end of phrases were very beautiful. So, you know, how do you take a performance like that and perhaps take it to a slightly different level that has a little bit more of a heroic feeling to it? And Camilo, if you can hear me and you need to translate at some point, just cut on in and join me. So
Yeah.
Get a heroic feeling. So if you're playing very elegantly and very, very beautiful, that's sort of one level. But to go to the next level, I think that it has to have a more strident feeling sometimes. Yeah. But at the very beginning, I think if you approach it with a little more courage and a little more energy, it'll take it from being very refined Mozart to a little bit more exciting. You want to try that beginning?
¿Entendiste todo, Rodri, lo que dice?
Más o menos.
Ella dice que está tocando muy bien, muy elegante, con finales de frase muy bonitos, todo muy, las finales de frase, todo muy bonito, pero ella dice que para llevar esto a un carácter o a un nivel un poquito más, a otro nivel, dice que debe tener un poquito más de coraje, un poquito más de atrevimiento.
De energía. Okay.
Sí, energía, coraje. Sí.
Energy and also a little bit of courage, like a feeling of hero. You have to get a feeling of a hero in this. It's very, there is a feeling of being strident a little bit at the beginning.
Sí, como un retador, como un retador, como heroico.
Ok. ¿Hago desde el allegro o el adagio?
The allegro. Allegro. Very good. Now, so we have to have some feeling that we have different phrases, and every phrase has to take us to a slightly different level in this Mozart, a little bit different feeling. So at the, you know, the first phrase, and you don't need to rush or to move the tempo forward to have a feeling of excitement or energy or even that courage feeling that I was talking about. You can even hold back a little bit. I remember very well when I studied this with Milstein, and he very much held the tempo. There was no need for moving forward to make it exciting. You can even just hold, you know.
Sostener el tiempo.
Then when this part comes, that's just a beautiful sort of rhythmic movement to the next phrase. And that becomes like a flourish, like you're ending a phrase with you know, like in an opera, somebody throws a scarf or something. And then here, again, another feeling. So this is a little bit sweeter, almost a little bit lyrical. And then we're moving on to, again, another part of the story. So we're climbing, but we're climbing in a very sweet and sort of reminiscent way. So we have, and then we just end. And that's just a beautiful ending for that section. So in that first section, you have to have feelings that you're going somewhere, that you're leading us somewhere. Instead of just playing it very beautifully, every element in every phrase is saying a little something different. You know, try this from here. Feel this. Feel that. Just feel that little line going up. Can you play from here?
¿Entendiste todo? Ella está diciendo que está todo muy elegante, muy bonito, pero ella dice que tiene que ir construyendo como emociones, construyendo, es como una escalada, tú vas escalando y tienes que saber para dónde vas a ir yendo con esa energía, ¿entiendes? Con ese cambio que te está explicando ella. Como ella no te está cambiando la frase, lo que te está cambiando es que cultive la frase hacia donde tú la quieres llevar, ¿ves?
Okay.
Con esa elegancia al final y sin correr, ella dice mantener el tiempo, dice, habló de Mendelssohn y dice de que esa misma emoción que tú tienes, pero sin correr, tener un tiempo bien estable.
Okay.
¿Ves? Con esa...
And just to interrupt, for those that you don't know, that was Camilo Acosta speaking Spanish and translating for me today, but more than translating for me, he's a wonderful friend and an unbelievable, inspired, curious and beautiful teacher and man. So I'm glad that he's with us today, and just wanted to make sure that all of you knew who that was talking just now. Okay, so let's do that from here. And then feel. So you have to kind of lead us. When I'm performing in anything, I really feel like I make a connection with the people that are listening, and I bring them with me to a place, and then I bring them with me to another place. And that's what we do when we're playing. We have to be feeling, where are we going? Where are we going and where are we going all the time? So let's go from here. Let's go from there.
Que trata de llevarte a la gente contigo, cuando tú tienes esa idea musical, tratar de llevar, pescar a la gente contigo, tratar de llevar a tu auditorio contigo.
Okay. Puede.
Yes. Okay. If you stop the phrase, you're actually stopping us from following you. I don't know. Try it without that. So I think that in this moment, you could be leading.
Okay.
No para tanto, no para tanto, pero no tanto.
Okay.
Let's try it differently this one time. Difficult. And I remember very well when Milstein, because that was who really pushed me to try different things and to experiment. It's so important to be able to experiment, to try something completely new, which means that you have to be in control of your technique to be able to try something new, right? So if you've been used to practicing with a lift of the bow, and then suddenly you are trying to play without the lift of the bow, then it requires you to be completely aware of your technique in that moment. So it can't be automatic. We can never have things that are just automatic. We have to always be in control, because then in the moment of performance, that's when we can improvise, if we have that technical freedom. So for instance, instead of practicing all the time to your interpretation, a lot of musicians or violinist students are always practicing to perfect their interpretation, which means that you would be practicing all the time. And so that becomes part of the way that you play that part. But I think that it is a lot more fun to, when you're practicing, practice so that your technique is within your control. You're not just doing one thing all the time, but you're experimenting. And that is what Mendelssohn, of course, was a master inventor, as his documentary was called, but he was a master experimenter. And I'll tell you that when I first went to study with Mendelssohn, I was 12 or 13 years old, and I had been studying with Manuel Kompinski, and he was an absolutely beautiful teacher, but I felt that I had moved sort of beyond his teaching. And I went to see Mendelssohn, and I wanted to be left alone. I wanted to pursue my ideas of music at that point on my own. And my mother didn't agree. She said, oh, no, you need a teacher. You have to have a teacher. So she went to have tea with Mr. Mendelssohn and talked to him about who I should study with. And he said, and it was interesting because I think it's a really important point, he said, she doesn't need a teacher. She needs to experiment. And eventually I did work with Joseph Gingold when I was 15 and 16, who was a beautiful influence introducing me to lots of background of violinists and technique and playing, etc., and a beautiful person. But the idea of experimentation is critical. So beware of practicing, always perfecting your interpretation. Because, for instance, if we go to this part, there's so many ways that you can play that. But if you're always practicing to try to, again, perfect your interpretation, then your interpretation is stuck like a little box on, you're stuck in your interpretation box. So let's jump to here. It's a very, very sweet, and it's almost bittersweet, right, this part? And I think you played it very nicely, but I think you can do something different with it and bring us on a sad journey, maybe a little bit sad. So let's do this part.
¿Entiendes, Robert? ¿Te explica un poquito? ¿O te diste la idea?
Beautiful moment.
¿Te diste la idea?
Sí, ¿puede hacerme un resumen?
Ok, ella explica muy bien que uno tiene que tratar de experimentar, de buscar maneras de no te quedarse cuadrado con una interpretación todo el tiempo para siempre con una sola manera de tocar, sino buscar dentro de tu interpretación, buscar nuevas maneras, buscar un legato, buscar colores. Y entonces cada ello que hay que experimentar mucho mientras tú practicas. Entonces, buscar cuando está más triste, ser más triste, cuando está más alegre, ser más alegre. Desde buscar más contraste emocional.
Ok.
Con tu técnica.
Okay, so, good. Then you might ask, how do I practice to give myself freedom? How do I experiment? For me, the way to get to the point of experimenting and being free by trying new things is to do nothing. So the first part of practicing towards freedom is nothing. It's and using your bow and feeling very free with the bow, but playing the phrase very plainly. And then when you play the phrase plainly and evenly, you find out, oh, have I been, doing something with my bow to avoid that shift? Or you find technical things that have crept into your interpretation. So the first thing, again, let's just try that. Very plain.
Buscar plano, buscar tocar primero, antes de buscar experimentar, buscar lo más plano, correctamente, pero plano, sin ningún tipo de afectación, para después encontrar la manera así. Explícame.
Okay.
Yes, because playing plainly reveals what we have sort of inputted into our playing technically that gets in the way. That gets in the way because we can't change it. So let's try that. Very simple, very simple.
Simplemente, todo plano, sí, bonito pero plano. Entonces uno encuentra ahí el detalle del arco, el detalle técnico que te hace poder sacar la emoción, que tú quieres buscar en la creatividad.
Okay.
¿Okay?
Okay, so what I noticed right away is that you have a hop in your bow that is part of your technique of this phrase, and you didn't take it away. So it didn't come out of your bow. You have to be able to take everything out.
Legato.
First you take out, and then you can put back in.
Quita todas esas cosas, o sea, lo más legato que puedas tocar.
Okay.
Quita todas esas cosas expresivas con el arco, todo plano.
Okay, good. It's better, but still you're using your bow in a certain way. You're making short notes with short bows, and I would suggest that you need to be able to play the bow in any part, in any way, with more bow. If you're always practicing and you're just using little bows there, then you're missing out on an opportunity. If you're performing and you want to just sing it out, then you can do. Then maybe you play it that way, but you won't be able to play it different ways unless you're free with your bow. Bow freedom is so important. I remember Milstein talking about that all the time. The bow speed, use your bow, waste your bow. I know that we have to practice as violinists saving our bow, and, for all sorts of reasons, we're taught how to save our bow, and we're taught how to, do an even bow speed, to put a lot of notes in one bow. But something that we're not taught is to waste the bow. And I tell that with my students all the time. Use more bow. If you're running out of bow, take another bow. If I'm in a performance and I'm running out of bow and I'm in a big hall and I want the sound to go way out there, I'll take another bow. It doesn't matter. So if you're playing, here. You can do anything you want if you have that bow freedom. And the bow freedom comes from practicing without interpretation. I know it's so counterintuitive. We think, we want an interpretation. We want to do Mozart very elegantly, and we shouldn't do this and we shouldn't do that. And we end up, as I said earlier, putting ourselves in more and more of a box. So you come to a performance. What happens if you're not with a great conductor and they're not following you, right? What happens? And you have to expand the phrases, or maybe you have to play faster. You might have to do some adjusting to the orchestra behind you, with you, right? And that's where you have to have that ability to use your bow in all sorts of ways. And that comes with this type of practice of not practicing to interpretation, but practicing for technical freedom. Then you can do what you want. It's very beautiful. Let's play that one more time, and then I'm going to ask Abby, our next student, who's going to come and play Mendelssohn. She's here from the University of Notre Dame. So let's try that one more time.
Pero lo que te está hablando ella, que libera tu arco lo más posible, no circunscribirse a un solo tipo de arco. Ella te está dando una libertad absoluta de poder ser libre en el talón, en la punta, en cualquier parte, sin tener limitaciones.
Okay.
Cultivar, cuando tú practicas una libertad absoluta, si tienes el talón, si te falta algo, cambia de arco, te falta aire, cambia de arco para que tú se tengas. Ok, no se circunscribirse a un solo tipo de arco.
Entiendo, sí.
Okay, one more time. So I want you to, can you hear me? I can hear you. Yes. So play for me one more time very simple, very plain, lots of bow, no articulation, nothing special.
Okay.
Todo
Try
simple,
that.
muy plano, con mucho arco, todo simple. Si pensás mucho en la música, siempre piensa en el arco libre, un arco libre.
Yeah.
Good. And then another thing when you're practicing is not always to try to practice sort of your best playing. You know, I talk with students about if you're just about to play and you do this, you're kind of setting yourself up for a certain kind of feeling, right? What about just playing?
Okay.
Because if every time you approach the violin, you have to make this sort of movement, I'm starting to play the violin now, it might get in your way. It might get in your way because sometimes you might want to sneak in. You know? So practicing, like I just did an articulation with the bow, and before I didn't do the articulation with the bow. If you practice both ways, then you can do whatever you want in that moment. So see if you can just put your bow on the string without
Okay.
the motion to start. I'm now starting. Just start. Try it. No, without that. So, so the idea is just to start playing.
Yeah.
Just to start playing. Good. So the last thing I would say about playing Mozart is don't be afraid to be completely human. You know, sometimes we approach Mozart, Beethoven, or Bach saying, you know, you have to be careful, you can't do this, you shouldn't, that's the big word, you shouldn't do that. And I think that is very limiting. You know, it could be that you would like to do a performance practice that is very historically correct. Great, you can do your research and you can do that. But at the same time, if you're going to play Mozart, why not bring your humanness through this music of Mozart, which is the way that I feel when I play it. I am not so good at performance practice for historical accuracy. It isn't my way. I'm not good at that. There are other people that are incredible. I love them, I listen to them, and I admire them. I'm not one of them. All I can really do is bring what's inside of me out through this music and what it allows me to express. And that's why the technical freedom is so important, because in that moment, what if I'm feeling sad? What if I'm not feeling sad? I mean, I'm using sad, you know, in a kind of a black and white way. But I think there's so many levels of tenderness that you can bring if you allow yourself to take the time and to practice without an idea that it should be one way or it shouldn't be another way, and find how you feel about playing it. And that's when I don't know how I feel about playing something, then I eliminate. I eliminate the articulation, I eliminate vibrato, I eliminate. And then I can build from there and see where I go with that. But those are ideas I think that might be helpful for your Mozart. And it was so fantastic that you played here today. And it was great to see you again, too. Where are you living? Are you in Venezuela or are you in Mexico? ¿Dónde está viviendo ahora?
Estoy en Chile.
Oh, in Chile. Oh,
Sí, en Santiago.
Oh, Chile. That's right. Okay. Sí. Well, thank you for playing. And I hope that we can do this again sometime. That would be great.
Muchas gracias a usted, de verdad.
Okay.
Increíble.
Now I'm going to try to find my student. Don't go away. Abby is going to play Mendelssohn. And I hope that she's right here. Hold on.
No te vayas, Robert. No te vayas. Quédate ahí bien. Y ella habla de la imaginación, habla mucho de simplificar, que buscar maneras de crecer, ¿ves?
Sí.
Now, so we're going to have a live lesson right now, so I don't have to wear my, oh wait, I have to wear my mask. I have to put a mask on because we're in the same room. Okay. So we're going to go to, let's see if I can, how do I change the screen? I'm not sure. I mean, whoops, wait a minute. There we go. Hold on in. Sorry about that. So in the school at Notre Dame, we're required to wear masks when we have somebody else in the room with us. And I'm not sure how to make this screen bigger. And I could do my phone sideways. Let's see if that works. Not so sure. Now it looks twisted. This is not going to work. Sorry, everybody, about all the technical difficulties.
It works. It works. Okay. It works. Okay.
Oh.
It works. You go horizontal.
Okay.
That's my knowledge.
All right. So this is Abby Fontana, and she's going to play Mendelssohn. And so we're going to step back a little bit so she can see and I can see. How about if you stand here? But I think it'd be too far away. Okay. Come a little closer. We're just going to share the camera together, but she's going to start playing first. And I don't know how to make us main, but who knows? Okay.
Maybe it'll just fix itself after I play for
Could
a
be.
while. Oh well.
All right. Let's stop there. Fantastic. So we're going to have to stand back for this, so we can share our screen together. Beautiful, beautiful. So Abby was preparing for the concerto competition here at Notre Dame, which has been postponed. So I thought this was a great opportunity for her to play out the Mendelssohn, because she doesn't get to play it out in the concerto competition. Or the beeping sound. So let's go through this Mendelssohn. So Mendelssohn is incredibly difficult because, first of all, you can hear every note. The orchestration is very light and it's very exposed. And especially at the beginning, we can stand back a little bit. So especially at the beginning, I think you have to be very careful. And we've talked about, so we'll go some of the things we've talked about. Very careful to play all the slides, all the shifting very cleanly. You know, one of the things that Milstein talked about all the time was length of phrases. You really don't want to chop things up. You want phrases to be as long as possible. So let's start at the beginning. You can keep going. And then another phrase. Now, one of the things, a beautiful bowing that Milstein showed me, to take that top note and put it with the rest of the phrase. That way, yes, if you do the top note with a down bow, then you're almost breaking the phrase up. But if you put it together,
Like that?
yes. Okay, so I know that there's an articulation written there. Again, it really, really breaks this very long phrase up. And I think that if you think more, that's your high point. And then it changes. Instead of it being all about the articulation, make it about the. I hope people can understand me with this mask on. There's kind of a little muffly. So listen, do from there. Okay, now when we get to the next part, you definitely don't want to go ahead. That's all one phrase. And then it changes. So if you think of it more in every phrase is turning into the next phrase, leading you to the next phrase. Then if it's all big, then we don't know where we're going. So that's big the whole time. So we need to have some rise and fall. Okay, now when you get to the top, I always feel this. When you get to the top, make sure everybody knows I just got to the top. Look at me, sort of like, so if you do, then we didn't have a chance to admire this moment, this beautiful moment of getting to the top. So if you know, sometimes we have to show off in our playing, but it's not show off ego show off, it's show off of this beautiful music that has just taken you somewhere high. And that's what you're feeling. You're not feeling, oh, look at, me, myself, and I. You're saying, wow, we've all come together to this beautiful moment and enjoy it. Go from, then okay, so when you get to these passages with Mendelssohn, these passages are all about the intricacy of the bowing and the intricacy of the rhythmic pulse. So you don't want to rush, then you want to make it very, it's almost like a mosaic where you see every little piece. So that becomes very much like sort of Tchaikovsky or very bombastic. But you can be a lot more elegant and a lot more detailed if you do. And then just the octaves are like a throwaway. It's just sort of like a heroic throwaway in that moment. But going back to this, see if you can hear every single note, like that. And not rushing, you can really hold the tempo. Here, I mean, Mendelssohn wouldn't do ba, ba, ba unless he was making a big point, right? It's not. Same thing. It's like, whoa, we got there. Try it, daughter. Now, a technical, you're going up the G string, it can get very muddy, right?
Yes.
So we have to somehow be kind to the G string and make it work. Because we have to hear every note. So we can't just say whatever and play as loud as possible. We still have to stay under control. So has to be absolutely under every note. You have to, Mr. Kempinski used to say that to me all the time. You have to hear every note. And if you hear every note, it sounds faster than if you play faster and it's muddy. That was his wise words to me all the time, every lesson. Yeah, so you have to demand it. I'm looking this way, so sorry, I'm not looking at you, but you have to demand it of yourself that you have absolute clarity of technique. It has to come from you. So it's not like you play it and you're listening from here. You have to be listening here. And not let yourself get away with anything. You have to really be demanding that it's there. Now I want to jump ahead a little bit to here. This was such a beautiful passage that I keep bringing up Milstein today because he's very much in my head right now. And I remember him playing this passage for me in the most delicate way with the longest phrasing possible. It was just beautiful. And it felt, when he played it, it felt like the most simple improvised melody with such sweetness and kindness. Try it. See if you can feel this long, long, long line. So when you're working for a long phrase line, you really have to watch what you're doing with your bow, because if the bow is digging in too much, already you're stopping. Here. Try that. So you have to watch how much you dig. Oh. Okay, and another thing is how much you vibrate on every note. If you're doing, then everything becomes important, and everything can't be important. You got to let things go. Isn't that like the main philosophy of life, is letting things go and moving on? So here, maybe it's not that important. Bad. There. Let's try that. John? Yeah, so one of the things about moving through a phrase is making sure that as the bow moves, the bow speed moves, that you, well, how can I say it? So you want enough bow speed so that you're going to your bow chain going down. And that was a beautiful thing, again, bringing up Milstein, that he taught me, was doing these bow changes from the, the back muscles, and to support the arm. so that you come to your bow changes fearlessly and very evenly. Very, very even. Try it one more time, and then we're gonna finish. Okay, so how do you practice for that? That's critical. How do you practice for it? You have to practice without vibrato, and you have to practice with, and I used this word earlier today, sort of a courageous bow. So you have to move the bow towards the bow changes without fear. And if you change the bow without fear, if it sounds like it has a glitch in it, that's okay. Don't be afraid. Keep practicing that, because that's where you'll learn how to change the bow. If you hear that, that's okay. You'll be able to refine it if you keep practicing towards the refinement. But if you practice away from it, if you're and you're starting to be careful with your bow changes, it won't happen. You can't be careful. One last time, without vibrato, and moving the bow at the bow changes. Okay, so what you're doing is a little opposite of what I would suggest, which is I would suggest saving the bow and moving at a bow change. And you're moving your bow and then slowing it down at the bow change moment. Okay, and so one way to practice for that is just simply practicing with a faster bow. Practicing with a faster bow changes, and then little by little harnessing that power of a faster bow so that the bow changes are smooth, but then you have an endless bow. And on that, we're going to have to stop, because John Blacklow, the wonderful pianist that I'm going to be playing with, has arrived. So thank you. Thank you, Abby. And now I have to figure out how to put this camera so John and I can play Brahms together, because we'd had this set up with a whole system. And unfortunately, at 2 minutes to 1, the system fell apart, as usually happens with them. So let's see. Come on over here, John. Let's make sure you're in. So this is John Blacklow, my wonderful friend, who's going to be playing the Brahms first movement, because you need to see him. He is just wonderful. See if you can see us both. I don't know. Let's see. Aha! I think we got it. I don't have my glasses on, but I think it looks okay. Hold on. So as everybody knows, the trick to playing these days with a mask on is, one is to breathe, which I'm having trouble doing. I'm talking too much. And also make sure it doesn't run up your face into your eyes. So I'm going to really hope that doesn't happen as we play the Brahms together. All right, maybe I should tune. My mother used to say I tune too much. Oh, you got it. Am I too high? Oh, yeah. Oh. Ron, that's so soft. Oh my goodness, sorry. Well, thank you all for joining us for this masterclass. We had one more person to play, but we unfortunately ran out of time, and I hope that she will join us for the next masterclass. Have a wonderful day.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Beautiful. Bravo.
Thank you.